Coach, here we are in practice again on another Thanksgiving week. I know the Red Raiders, your 71 team and your 79 team were the first two to practice on Thanksgiving. Do you have any memories of those years?
Yeah, of course I do. Of course, that's the goal of every team every year, is to be practicing during Thanksgiving, because you're on your way for a state championship when you're doing that. And all these other schools around here are all playing basketball. You look at all the rest of the schools in Gaston County, and they're playing basketball, and here we are getting ready for another state championship.
Well, that's been the story of the Red Raiders for a long time, hasn't it, Coach?
Yes,
Coach
it
Hodge
has.
has got another fine group, hasn't he?
Yes, he does, and we're looking forward to Friday night with Eastern Guilford.
It is Eastern.
And then we're looking forward to Kings Mountain after that, and then on to higher ground.
Yeah. Take them one at a time, right?
One at a time, yes.
The biggest game is the next one.
Yes.
Now, Coach,
Back in -- we had a great team. Coach Lineberger was on that team, and had a great group. And we had beaten Lincolnton and Newton Conover in the playoffs, and went down to Salisbury and played them for the association championship. So that was the first Thanksgiving. That was in 1971.
at what time did you practice?
We practiced that afternoon, but we had a little conflict that afternoon, but we got it all back together the next day and went down and played a good football game.
That's all that matters.
Yeah.
That Newton Conover game was when Dean Iverson broke that crossbuck right up the middle.
Mm-hmm.
He looked like a streak.
Yeah.
We had a great backfield. Dean Iverson and Scott Crawford and Danny Clausen and
Bill Hannon.
yeah.
We had a great.
Great quarterback during those times.
As
Wasn't
a matter of fact, when we went down to play Salisbury for the association championship, the Salisbury coach told me that he thought we just sent him some films of our games, and he thought we'd sent highlights of our season down there with the way Scott and Dean and some of those kids, great games that they had had.
Yeah.
Both those guys ran 9.800s.
I saw them play.
They were both on the track team also, and a lot of track meets they would be dead heats in the events that they were in. Yeah.
Two of them.
Those two.
Yeah. And then 79 was a great year also. Hadn't had a great year in 78. In 79, the kids came back, put it all together, and went down to a Hosky. And I'd never heard much of, or the name of Hosky before much, and didn't know where it was. But we found out where it was, and we went down there, and those people were very confident. They had several guys on their team that was going to Duke, some of the bigger colleges, and we didn't have big names on our team. We had one, Jeff Williams, that Clemson was really looking at. But they thought they had a great football team, but when it was all over, it was Red Raiders all the way.
Ran into a buzzsaw, didn't
Ran
it?
into a buzzsaw.
34-12.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, Coach Tate, tell us about the '93 Raiders, and practicing on Thanksgiving that year.
Yeah, we did. We won the conference that year, but we got beat in the playoffs. I can't remember who it was. I try to forget those kind of things. But just going back to what Coach was talking about, this time of year, and I told Adam this in the Sunday meeting yesterday, you want to make sure your kids are using the fundamentals. First things first, get in a stance, get in proper alignment, and come off on the ball. And, if the game is won at the line of scrimmage. If you win the line of scrimmage on both sides, you win the game. Pretty simple game, really.
Hadn't changed much.
No.
Nope.
Hadn't changed much. Well, they certainly had to win the line of scrimmage last week.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they did.
Had that ball 3 times within a foot of the goal line against Crest late in the game.
Yeah.
That was a very exciting high school football game.
I don't believe I can never remember one ending like that.
I don't remember one ending like that. I sure don't.
Not with our big offensive lineman getting a pass break up.
Yeah. That was the first time he had been on defense, hadn't it?
Yeah.
First time all year. I
See,
told Coach Hodge after the game, I said, that's a good call.
See, he went in there to block the field goal. He assumed the guy was going to kick the field goal. And I was thinking the same thing. They're going to try to kick the field goal.
He blocked the right thing.
But the thing about it was, he's never played defense, but he mirrored the quarterback's arm. He's right-handed, so he puts his left hand up and deflects that ball. I mean,
Did you see him after he did that, how he ran around on the field over there, excited? He was so excited. Yes, he was.
Well, being 6'8" helped a little bit.
Oh,
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
I mean, he ran over the guard and put that hand up. It was great. It was great.
And we had, I think one of the years we played, I think it was '02, we played Mike Carter's Mooresville team down here, and we were down 14-0, or we were down by 14 in the fourth quarter. And I don't know if you remember Jeremiah Riddle making that interception on the goal line right down here, the same side of the flagpole, and that spurred us on to come back, and we came back and beat Mooresville, and that was on a Thanksgiving. I think it was about 7 or 8 degrees that night.
Like at High Brighton.
We played High Brighton. We went through town in '79, and the thermometer on the bank said 8 degrees. And when we kicked off, it was 6 degrees.
Right.
And some people said they were cold that night, but I didn't even get cold. Did you get cold?
I about froze to death.
I don't remember it being that cold. Our kids played a great game.
Well, when Coach Lineberger in, what was it, 16 or 17, that they went back up to High Brighton, it was cold that night.
Yes, yeah.
And our defense shut them down that night to get to go to Wake Forest.
That was 16, yeah.
That was 16, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, our team last Friday night played a much improved Crest team. They were much better than they were the first game, so our kids had to really play to win that one.
Right. Well, it's hard to beat somebody twice.
It's hard to beat a good team twice.
Especially like Crest, and they're well coached.
Yes.
Coach Sosby
good athletes.
does a great job.
Well, you know, the second time around, you know, we don't know what they're going to change.
Exactly.
And they changed some stuff, and
Exactly.
they gave us a problem.
You used to talk about change. We had to play Ashbrook in '03 for the second time.
Yeah.
And we finished 14-14, had to go to overtime. I don't remember whether you remember that ball game. And we scored on our first possession in overtime and then held them out of the end zone.
One I really remember is in Asheville. We all remember the one in Asheville.
That was a Thanksgiving.
Yes, yes, yeah. And it snowed like crazy up there. And you know what? They were ranked like #1 in the state.
They were ranked #1 all year.
Yes, they were. And we wore them out up there. And my dermatologist is from Asheville. And every time I go up there, and he gets that old gadget out that zaps you and so forth, and every time he hits me with that thing, he says, "Payback, payback, payback, payback."
We got out of the truck. I was with Mike McWhorter and Mickey with the equipment truck. And we get out of the truck up at Asheville. We were an hour or so before the bus. And I saw some little bitty sleet fall. And I said, "Boys, it's going to snow here tonight." They said, "No, it's not going to snow."
It started snowing hard on one side before it got to the other side. Yes, it did.
It was 55 degrees when we left Belmont that day.
Yeah.
And we went in to eat the pregame meal at the Weston Sizzling. There was a little flurry starting to fall, and then it got heavier and heavier. When we left, it was blowing a little bit. We got out on the field, there was a little dusting, and then when we came out after our reminders, and we came down that stadium steps, there were 3 inches. There were 3 inches of snow on top of the bills of people's hats.
The field solid white.
And Mickey and McWhorter didn't have any pants. They wore shorts the whole ball game.
I don't doubt that. What was the score of that game? I can't remember.
It was 52-10.
52-10.
We scored on the first possession on the third down play. And on the videotape of that game, you can't tell the numbers of the players or anything.
And when we were lined up, you know, usually you square on the line of scrimmage, but we were like this, and then we was like that. So,
well, they got the sidelines and the goal line, but they didn't get each of the 5-yard markers.
I'll tell you one other thing. It was difficult getting back to Belmont that night, getting out of Asheville.
Oh yeah,
with the highways and so forth, very dangerous.
Well, we sat on Interstate 40 for 2.5 hours. Right. We didn't get back about 3:30 in the morning from that trip.
Oh, I remember that one well.
The other game that I remember probably more than that is on Wednesday night. No, it's Thursday. It's Thanksgiving night. Before we played Anson County, they called for snow, and we got Chuck Dellinger to bring the Gaston Sims ballpark. They had an infield turf, and we got them to cover one half the field, and then we got Belmont Abbey's infield to cover the other half, and it did snow a little bit, but not as much as we thought it would. And then we had about 2/3 of the field covered that night, or that evening. And when we pulled it off, at least we had a dry field to play Hanson County, and that's the ball game you're talking about, Josh Justice. That's the last time I saw you run, Coach.
I was running right down that sideline with him. He was running right there, and I was right beside him saying, "Go, Josh, go!"
I think he had about 200 yards of offense that night.
Yeah, that was the one that won the ball game. That long run he made. Yeah,
I think he had 240.
Had 240. Yeah, it was something else.
But it's always exciting to practice on Thanksgiving. You have your family stuff you have to do, but coming to the ballpark on Thursday, Thanksgiving for practice is a sweet thing.
And really you just think about there are very few teams that get to do that,
right?
Because there are very few teams that are still in there working for that state championship. Yeah. And this team right here is practices a lot on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Another great game coming up, and I appreciate you taking the time to tell some stories about the Red Raiders of old, and I'm sure the folks that remember them games that bring back good memories, and hope to have some new memories this year.
It brings back a lot of good memories even to us, doesn't it?
Oh yeah.
Yes, it does.
It's good.
Got a lot of great fans that are up in age and still come to games, and you see them, and how you doing, and it's a pretty sweet thing to be a part of this community. And it all started with this guy right here.
We just trying to keep up with him.
Yeah.
He set the pace, and we just trying to keep up with. Hey, he did a pretty good job of keeping up with Josh that night too, going up sideline.
Yeah, going down that sideline.
You think about it. When Coach Big came here in '69, and I was lucky enough to be hired by him, and Earl and Mike Hudock, in 2 years,
Yeah.
we were champions. And then the Lineberger folks built our stadium.
Yeah.
I mean,
when we came here, Coach Devine, there was no stadium. There was a football field here with 4 light poles and a few little wooden bleachers on this side, and that's all was here. And you look at the facility now.
Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
It was a long cheer stadium.
And you just think about it, first year we were 5-5, the second year we were already 9-1, and third year 12-0 and one tie. And association champions, that ain't bad.
Well, when Phil left and he handed it off to me, my first 2 years I was 5-5, and I thought I was going to get run off. But we somehow turned it around.
Yeah.
Great kids, great community, great
good
kids.
guys.
And tradition.
Well, good
tradition.
guys,
and a little bit of hard work.
Yeah.